Where's my mic? There it is. Hey, and we're back, and we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode of ESP Enchanting Sorcery Productions. We're back once again. The lovely, incredible, talented Dee. Hello, Dee. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
I'm good, and I have a Nightbot command for you. Yeah, it actually works. Well, sometimes Nightbot can be a little wonky. But yeah, we're gonna talk about deep magic. But first, I want to talk about a little bit of banter. You said you had some homebrew that you're working on, and I want to let you talk about that
I
for a bit because I'm very intrigued.
do. Yes, I do. So this is my first kind of foray into really paid DMing. So I really wanted to like hammer out some stuff for a homebrewed world. Um, it's called Obanra.
It's called what?
Obanra.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of plays off of a lot of the lore behind like Eberron and how the lore behind it was the world was kind of made out of the dragon gods, like the body of the dragon gods. And that's kind of the part that I took that I was like, I really like that, and I also really want more dragons in my
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons. We're just gonna go ahead and do that.
Eberron's
So
such a
yeah,
cool setting too,
right?
especially with the dragon lore, and I like how you implemented that. But anyway,
Yeah,
carry
so
on.
that's what I really want to implement is more dragons in my Dungeons and Dragons. But it's still kind of scaled down a little bit. It's not as like heavy as on the like mystery and the noir of Eberron. It
Mm-hmm.
still very much plays into things like Faerun and the kind of high magic fantasy. So like I said, still in the very early stages, but I
Yeah.
definitely want to get the name out there.
Anything draconic is cool. I know, like you're my authority on anything and everything dragons when it comes to D&D and expanded D&D lore.
Right. And it's literally the second part of the name, Dungeons and Dragons. Like,
Yeah.
give me more dragons.
Well, with everything that happened with the community incidents in January with the OGL and everything, it's nice
Yes.
to see a lot of people expanding, doing their own stuff, doing their own worlds, making
Hmm.
their own versions of whatever. And we have the Creative Commons now, which is really cool because it makes it so that creators like yourself can just kind of go wild. Um,
Right.
and it seems like a very general concept of Eberron, so you should be fine. I know
Mm.
like Eberron is that weird in between where like if you use like specifically Warforged or
Right.
like the Dragon Mark houses, it's a weird sticky area for copyright.
Hmm.
But um, the general concept, no, because we learned also
Right.
you can't copyright general concepts.
Right.
Yeah, like dragons becoming a part of the earth. So I'm very excited to. Hey, anything you want to have me play test? I'm here for it.
For sure. Yeah, because I know I'm definitely going to be looking at upgrading some Dragonborns because don't get me wrong, Fizban did a really good job.
Yeah.
Um, I just think Dragonborns need a little bit more love.
Oh yeah, Fizban's is somewhere over there behind. I don't know. My camera's all wonky with the blur focus, but it's back there somewhere. Speaking of expanded D&D and 5e stuff, let's talk about fire.
Yes.
I'm very excited to talk about fire and bam, browser. Boom, we got browser vision. All right. So we're gonna talk about Kobold Press's Deep Magic Volume 2, and I'm excited about that. And I have notes, so I'm gonna check our agenda. Yes, we have an agenda. Homebrew banter, heed powers call. Okay, we're gonna do a little flavor because it wouldn't be an ESP thing with a little actual flavor lore. So
Of course.
Deep Magic 2 is sort of an enhanced deep dive into magic, into 5th edition magic. And there's a little blurb at the beginning that we're gonna read here called Heed Powers Call. And I really
Okay.
like this. And you can check out the Kickstarter too, which I will link in the chat a little bit later. Deep Magic Volume 2 is the next installment in Kobold Press's popular series, presenting potent new options for game masters and players with a penchant for enchantment. Oh no, enchantment!
I did it too. I was like, no, no.
And fully compatible, we're also Dragon Age nerds, and fully compatible with the evolution of the world's first tabletop RPG. This book is a complete expansion for spellcasting, jam-packed with innovative and thoroughly playtested. There it is. That's how you sell Panda.
Awesome.
Thoroughly playtested options with Deep Magic Volume 2. You can master new mechanics like True Name Magic. Ooh, that's like the name of the wind. Really interesting book series. I listened to it on audiobook, like half listened to it. I don't know that much about it beyond that. Hundreds of new spells for every casting class. It includes new subclasses like the Oath of the Spellsworn and a new base class, the Witch. Ooh, I actually didn't read that very last line for some reason, but now I'm really excited. In this preview, you'll find a snippet about Pyromancy. I feel like I should do a metal, like an 80s metal scream after I say that. One of the many magic styles appearing in Deep Magic Volume 2. The snippet includes an overview of the style, a recommended spell list, flavorful player options, creature traits, and a first look at the Ignicies of Flame, which I know both of us are excited about. A grimoire, smoldering with elemental power. It also contains a small sampling of the new Pyromancy spells that will appear in the book. And I will link the Kickstarter. It is available here. Boom. Awesome. Hey, Veroth, lurking at work? Heck yeah, if you shout out. Nope, not Burroth. Chicken broth. Veroth with a V. Hey. Across the Obelisk. Never heard of it, but now I'm curious. Okay. Where's my browser? And the art is just incredible. Everything Kobold Press is so extra in the best way. I love it.
And that, like, would you have it any other way?
Yeah, and they've got like star magic, which is really cool. Wondering if like the actual full version will have. I mean, that looks like star or sort of astrologian magic. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Because I mean, we already kind of got a taste in that with like the official stars druid, but I mean, this would be fantastic to have it expanded to like other classes.
Mm-hmm. Caption this photo, Dee. the one above Heed Power's call.
Be careful what you summon.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very accurate because it looks like some sort of chimera thing. Because it's got like it looks like stitching. Can't quite tell what that is.
I should have brought a bag with me to the park. I'm gonna just say what it is, and then you can tell me what your thoughts are. I really like this. So it's about creating your own specific style. There's a snippet here, the first couple of pages, about how these magic styles are kind of flavored. The one that we're looking at, Pyromancy, is flavored for Pyromancy. And I'm going to assume that there's going to be other flavors, sort of like astrologian magic, like we saw with the art, or sort of thunder, like a thunder style. But also what's cool about this is, like most expanded supplements for 5th edition, you can kind of craft your own style. And it goes into detail about how to do that, how to structure a spell list based on your own style. And the coolest part about this is that it uses all the schools of magic, not just one, but all the schools, to really create a full profile of flavor for your style of magic. So what are your initial thoughts just on the style, on how this book approaches a very general, hey, you can also customize it, and sort of combining, as a veteran D&D player, combining all of the schools together?
I think it's a fantastic step in the right direction. I know when I first got started in playing D&D, there wasn't necessarily a lot of options. So like obviously in D&D you can customize a lot of stuff, but the nitty-gritty, the small things is what you really kind of get at. So for example, like when my first character that I made was a moon druid, but he was a moon druid that studied white dragons, which are specific to like cold magic.
Yeah.
So I wanted to implement that into his fighting style, the spells that he had, and unfortunately for my DM, he didn't really have a way of implementing that aside from, okay, well, let's take, what was it, Flame Blade. Now it's Cold Blade. So it's just like, we'll just kind of switch it to cold magic, whereas there's not necessarily any spells that I could develop, or, like outside of what I was kind of already given. So I really like the being able to have more spells available to you to kind of, really get into your character's personal style of magic.
Yeah. That's what most people do, I think.
Mhm.
I feel like most people, I've done it 100
Right,
times, just reflavor something because I'm like, oh, I don't have anything.
right.
Hey,
And
everybody, now we have something.
exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that, but now
Yeah,
you have an option for it.
yeah, yeah. And
So
that's,
it's less work on the DM on that part too.
yeah, that too. And your DM will appreciate you. I say that as a D. Are you DMing any campaigns right now other than preparing for
Um,
your homebrew world, or?
Not any campaigns specifically. I do occasionally run one shots in a group of friends.
Mhm.
Um, so that's where most of my experience is. But yeah, having something like this where I would, because this is a not a pre-written campaign. This is everything is made by me. So something like this would be absolutely invaluable. Where if I had a player that came to me like, oh well, I want to be an acid specific
Right.
artificer. Okay, cool. I have something for that now.
Well, if you end up having spots in your campaign, you have to say.
I will always ask you and Panda first.
Yay! Panda's our DM from. You'll hear Dee and I talk about our Sunday campaign a lot, and that's our DM's name is Panda. Red Panda. Cool. All right. So, pyromancy magic is what we're looking at here. This is really cool. Instead of a feat. Oh, I want to go to the next song. Actually, that's a cool song, but the road is more fantasy-esque. Ooh, and we have more Nightbot commands for our music partners, because we have music partners now, Dee.
Yay, music partners.
AfterInfinity is just free for everyone. There we go. Anyone can use AfterInfinity so long as you cite them appropriately, as we're doing here. And then also Tabletop RPG music currently playing. Yeah, okay.
Their
Definitely
stuff
more
is
of a,
always fantastic.
yeah.
I just use it on occasion, like I said, when I'm running those one shots, and I'm like, no, guys, go use them. It's fun. It's really cool. They have good music.
Do you know what I'm going to say next?
Yes. What?
It's fire.
It's lit.
Yeah, yes! High five.
Yes. Virtual high five.
Outstanding. Okay, so with pyromancy magic, you can just take a fire feat, or an ember, as they're called. Unfortunately, it's very specific. Might change. It's still in the Kickstarter, so you never know if something might change the last minute. Not always, but you can only take one per character. I'm assuming with certain classes and with your DM, you can change up what feat it is.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the feats here. Let's each take one to talk about. There is Breath to Smoke, Fire Rider, Flame Sucker, Spreader, Upon the Rising Plume, and a Voice Inferno. Did any of these really call out to you specifically? If so, just talk about it.
I feel like I kept coming back to the Fire Rider because it really gave me like Silver Surfer vibes.
Yeah, I mean, you also have a Phoenix Flame mount in the campaign that we're
Yes.
playing now.
Yeah, so that was the other reason, like
That makes
my
sense.
the mount that I have is a Fire Griffin. So obviously having something like a Fire Rider feat would be amazing for my cleric. Because all things fire.
Yeah, and then you could do it with anything. So, with you being our go-to fan of all things draconic, you could take like a guard drake or anything. I know there's like a couple of upgraded versions of the guard drake and Fizbins and some other 5e supplements. We could take any type of sort of guard drake adjacent creature, or just a drake or wyvern, and you could give that creature the aura of flame and have it have that same flavor.
Right.
Really
And
cool.
I think that's fantastic because, everybody wants a pet, fire creature. Like, I think that would be amazing.
But also, you could literally have like a giant fox and have it be on fire.
Uh-huh.
Or you could have like a unicorn and have that be on fire, or I don't know. You could just have a flaming horse. Any of the above.
Flaming horse.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't want a nightmare that's like a good nightmare?
Yeah, exactly. Now, I like the breath to smoke. It's pretty simple, and it's just you can sort of just spew thick, acrid smoke, and it creates like a smoke screen. You can just belch up smoke.
See, I see this, and I'm like, I can't get out of my head the Finding Nemo. Oh, you guys made me ing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Imagine someone this, using this underwater, and it's instead of smoke, it's like ink that
Yeah.
comes out.
It would be dangerous. That would be really good flavor and or dangerous for a bardic character. Or a
Yes.
character that is always drinking or belching, and then it's just smoke everywhere all the time. Or if you're going into a dungeon, they're like, "Well, hold on, I need to tap the keg that I brought with me, so I can belch," and then they're just spewing smoke in the middle of a dungeon. It's really cool. Second favorite?
I had to pick a second favorite. Probably the spreader one. I mean, come
Classic.
on, you're
Yeah.
just lighting stuff on fire.
Yeah.
Like,
You're on fire. You're on fire. You're on fire.
Pyromancer like me, I want to set things on fire. If my
Yeah.
mount is not on fire, you're going to be on fire.
It's literally the Oprah gift, but with fire. You're on fire now. You're on fire now. You're. I also like Upon the Rising Plume, because you literally use existing fire as a springboard and just anime launch yourself into flight.
Like, that's definitely pretty cool.
And it actually says springboard, so you like jump onto a hearth and then just whee, and you shoot this like towering inferno, just like shoots up from under you and just like roiling flame as you kind of go flying into the sky after springboarding.
That is so cool. Though.
Yeah.
You're riding a rising plume of fire. That's pretty cool.
If you had to pick one more to talk about, which one would it be?
What was it? So let me look at this again.
Flame Sucker and Voice Inferno are the last two.
I think Voice Inferno kind of caught my attention because I'm like, what would this look like?
Of charisma characters.
Right, and I mean, you have so many options. So like, you have your paladin, your bard, or your sorcerer. And I'm imagining this on a sorcerer would probably be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're it's kind of. Actually, you know what it kind of reminds me of is Skyrim, like the Thum.
Yeah. Oh,
like, I feel like that would be a perfect image for this.
I'm ashamed of myself that I never thought of that. Well done, Dee. It definitely is. You could just run around and Fustroda people off of cliffs with your fire voice. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I feel like that would be perfect image for something like that.
But then the DM has to say, okay, well, after you bounce them off of the cliff in the sky, you can see them sort of contorting and twisting in weird ways, and the leg kind of just like
through the earth.
Yeah. And then the ground is like distorted. It's real weird. It's almost like whoever it's almost like God creates worlds that are naturally flawed for some reason.
I mean, it just works.
Yeah.
It just works.
DM inspiration. We were playing. Totally. Okay. And the cool thing is you can also use this on creatures. So you can just add it to whatever fire creature you're making. So Hot as Hell, Evaporating Aura, Singeing Blow. Which one would you pick if you were making a fire monster or a fire elemental, or what's the first one that you think that you can think of?
So I think my favorite go-to, just because it feels kind of comfortable, kind of like the what is it called? Heated Body, I think it's called in official material. Hot as Hells. I think that would be something that I would use on a lot of my creatures. Just because, like I said, it makes me. It just feels kind of like that official material, where it's a little bit like an aura, but you're taking fire damage instead of it just being, like the name says, hot as hells.
Well, and the other cool thing is that you can also Evaporating Aura, like you said when you mentioned auras. It's flavor. That's pretty much just there for flavor, which is really cool. It reminds me of the layer actions of a legendary creature.
Yes.
And then of course there's the Singeing Blow, which is just add fire damage, which is cool.
I mean, everybody likes fire, right? That's why we're in the fire section.
Yeah. Pyromancy, yeah. Scanlan would love this. Okay. The I still have to finish watching season 2.
Oh my god, it's
I
so
know.
good.
I got to the episode after the Raven Queen's lair, and then
Oh, okay.
I was so like, because I knew it was gonna happen, but I had never actually seen it play out, and I was so shook
Gotcha.
by it that I was like, I need a break.
I think what's crazy is I went back and watched it again. And I was like, man, I still miss so much stuff, but this is so cool.
Yeah. Same. I watched it a second time with my partner, and I
Mm,
also noticed that I was missing some other stuff there. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of layers to it for sure, which is just a tribute to like the writing team.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, the Chronicles of Flame. I have a little. I like block text. We all know I like block text. So it was the scent that surprised me. I spent 4 years clambering through the sooty ruins of the tower. The ash ruined my sense of smell and dimmed my vision, but I was undaunted. At night, the smoldering figure scolded me in my dreams. Dig deeper. We are there. Find us. When I finally found the charred door to the hidden library, I'd forgotten what a clean breath felt like. But in these cold black depths, I found it. The Ignicies. A chronicle of fire and flame from the primordial sludge at the beginning of all things. In an instant, my senses returned, restored by the magic of the book. So this is a magic item that is currently held by a character named Ian Gelwood. And he's a glass blower. And they made glass, and then they found this tome, and then they got all this extra power.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's adventure hooks. Did you get a chance to check out the adventure hooks?
I kind of glanced over them a little bit, but I didn't get too in detail because I figured we'd go over them here.
Yeah. So there's arson and there's dry grounds. I'll go through dry grounds if you want to take another peek at arson, and then you can let me know what you think. Dry grounds is cool because I like anything that leads you to or that relates to an ancient jungle, because you can tie it into like any other jungle-based campaign. So explorers of an ancient jungle return to a portside community. Hey, we got stuff going on. Aqua kisses! Oh my gosh! Is it our friend from Panda Server?
It might be.
Ah, hello, and Rudolph's here too. Hello, Aqua. Hello, Rudolph. So, okay, telling tales of a desert growing nearby. The party investigates and discovers a miles-wide area of verdant jungle has turned to sand and ash. The center of the area is a smoldering temple where the Ignicies once secured in a magical urn has tumbled free. Fire-based monsters are drawn to the area to prevent the spread of the Grimoire's influence. The party must delve into the temple and return the book to its container, or is taking it themselves. And there's a third one there that I missed earlier, but there's Rising Heat and there's Arson. So what do you think of the Arson hook now that you've gotten a chance to look over it again?
I think this is a really good one. It's your classic, do we keep the cursed magical item or do we return it to its rightful owners? And I like the fact that it's talking about a living fire, so it doesn't specify that it is like an earth elemental or something. It's literally a living fire that's teleporting and causing all this ruckus. So I like the fact that they don't specify. I mean, of course, as a DM, you could make it connected to fire elementals. But you have the option of just keeping it as a separate thing. And I mean, like I said, it's a classic, do we return it or not? And you could do the whole, what was it? Curse the Cowardly Dog, the return the slab.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a throwback. That's a real throwback. I need to watch that episode now.
Oh, it's a
go back and watch
episode.
it. I remember it being like really intense and really scary as a kid at the time. I was like, bring it back.
So you could definitely like play up the spooky factor if you wanted to do something like that. If you're a DM that likes the spooks, you could make it very spooky and very terrifying for your players.
Oh, totally.
But I always am a fan of like the classic stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, the last one is Rising Heat. Tossed into a city's infamous prison pits for theft, a young wizard has managed to smuggle one of her stolen objects with her, the Ignicies themselves. In those dark caverns below the city, the bearer of the fabled grimoire has used the book's power to thin the veil between the material world and the swirling chaos of the elemental planes. What? I like it. This is my favorite. Dangerous prisoners, fiery monsters, and the empowered wizard rise from the pits, threatening to immolate the will and wealth of the city's citizenry. Okay, that's my favorite. I am 100% using that in the future.
That one's a really cool one. I think that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you what your favorite would be. But it's that one for sure. Final
Yes,
answer. Okay, same.
yes. I mean, they're all really good. However, no Rising Fire or
Yes.
Rising Key is the best.
And that's just flavor. The final answer is just flavor because you can literally use all three of these in this, and you could kind of change things up. But you could do one shots. You could use different versions in the same campaign, or make it one long campaign and just have the grimoire continue to elude you and have to follow it, or have maybe false grimoires that are maybe something else or that used to be.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one actually. A false grimoire, thrown in for effect.
Yeah, and there's like a chaos demon or something that's wanted and that has lured you all out here with a false one or something. You could do any of those things. And of course, we have the magic item itself, the Ignicies. Wondrous item, fabled 5th level and higher properties require attunement by a spellcaster. So, requires attunement. It's fabled, wondrous item, and is pretty cool. So what are your thoughts on the item itself, which is pretty good? It is...
I'm
it can be cursed.
It real quick because I was like, this is really cool. I like the fact that it's, instead of legendary, it's called fable. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let me see. I do like the quirks that are introduced with it.
Yes.
Your hands can lightly smoke when you're stressed. It's just the fact that you're attuned to it. It's giving your characters different effects. Would you roll?
I rolled a 5.
A 5. So you dislike being wet and avoid rain, baths, and boats whenever possible. See, I think my favorite result on this table is that you like to set things on fire. I just will do that naturally. I will just do that because I can.
Okay, do you want to roll? See what you get?
Yes, I have my dice.
So for number 5, if I was rolling before character creation for something like this, for a campaign, I would be like, maybe you could roll a tabaxi or something, and then that would kind of go hand in hand with that.
Oh,
but it's very...
that would be amazing. So I have my orange dice here.
Ooh, Sam.
And I got a 6. Oh, so that's a cool one. Food and water that you carry for more than an hour takes a smoky flavor. Okay, so you're like a natural barbecue. That's cool.
It's awesome. A natural smoker. Do you have to get up? The thing is that it does it when you walk, so you don't have to get up at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning to actually put the meat in the smoker.
Right. It's like you just gotta wake up, like, I'll just hold this for a bit, and it turns into it has a smoky flavor. That's really cool.
I would never be able to smoke any meat because I'm not a morning person, and to the hells with getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I would rather just drive down the street to the barbecue and get it.
That's fair.
So 5 and 6, but it is an art. But if you have the Ignicies and you roll a 6, you can just be and you can make a business out of it. Your character could have like a little side hustle. Where
that would be pretty cool, having a side hustle like that.
Yeah.
Just let me see the meat for like an hour. I'll give it back. I'll give you like pay me 50 gold for this.
And it has the spells that we're gonna go over later in the tome, which is the next part.
Yes.
Everything that's already in there. You can also use it as a spellcasting focus, of course. You have advantage on intelligence-based checks made to interact with or recall information concerning creatures from the elemental planes. They contain the following spells: the Chronicles of Flame.
Is this? So I'm not seeing that. What was it? What was that last one? Oh no! So Flames Chronicle Unleashed. Okay. So that is actually in the spell section. I was looking for that.
And Garnet's here, one of our admins. Hi, Garnet. Garnet's kind of hanging out with us. If you add, feel free to add anything that you want about the about this. I didn't know you were gonna pop in, but hello, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Oh,
We're doing pyromancy. Feel free to offer your thoughts.
oh,
Otherwise, I would have had
sorry.
no. You're
I
totally.
thought I'm early then.
You are totally fine. We're looking at Deep Magic 2. Would you like to look at it with us? Garnet's one of our admins again, and you can see her on Heaven's Fire. The more the
Yeah,
merrier.
sure.
Okay.
I can pop in.
So
What do you guys what are we chatting about right now?
we are
The
chatting about
spells.
Pyromancy, Deep Magic 2.
Oh,
And we
well,
have
I'm a huge fan of pyromancy.
yeah.
See, I told you, who doesn't like fire?
Right? Everybody likes fire. And see, we went through the lore. We went through the actual magic item of this sort of fiery tome called the Ignicies. There are adventure hooks for the Grimoire of the Ignicies, which is like, again, this magical tome of fire. There are feats that you can take in place of regular feats that are called embers, as related to the pyromancy style of magic. And because this is a Kobold Press tome, we are using a style of magic which can use all 7 of the schools together as one particular style, and you can kind of customize it as you go.
Oh. So
Which
I
is
can
cool.
make fire pretty. Also,
Yes.
pretty and pretty.
Yes. And we're gonna move on to some of the spells now. We're back. So we're looking at the spells, and we have so this is a long spell list. We have the Arrow of Ash, the Ashen Lashes, Brilliant Harrier, Court the Flame, Curse of Sustentation, words,
Words are hard.
Bombard, Silence iPhone, Bombard, Ian's Armor of Glass, Fire Dance, Ian's Molten Shard, Flames Chronicle Unleashed, Hearthwalk, which is my personal favorite, Flames United, Immolating Geist, Major Flame Step, Spray of Glass, Minor Flame Step, and Smolder. Kiri would absolutely be living, Allie. Oh, and by the way, shout out to usually Triumphant. So usually Triumphant, aka Allie, played a Fire Ganassi Bard in one of our home games. And she also set fire to the entire town of Yartar in one of the largest pyromantic incidents to have ever occurred on the Sword Coast.
I mean, it's fine. You can rebuild.
Yeah, congratulations.
You can always rebuild. You're known for something.
It's a legendary story. Well, there was like the Zentarum there were being assholes, and there was like they were real nasty people to the refugees there. So to compensate, the party set fire to the town, which is an appropriate reaction to mystery refugees. Yes.
Zentarum dealing with them. I mean, fire, Zentarum, fire.
Well,
fire.
Normally, I like the Zentarum, and it was a sort of a Zentarum-centered campaign, but this was like an offshoot that was old school, and they were, so and everybody in the city was just kind of evil in their own way. So I think the idea for both the guards and the Zentarum being corrupt was to just burn the whole thing to the ground. Which, hey, it worked, and it made for one of the most memorable campaign moments I've ever had the pleasure of DMing in my life. That was really cool. It was very just, no, I'm just going to burn the whole city down.
Yeah, why not?
My favorite of this is the flavor one. I like the Hearthwalk. The Hearthwalk is really cool. You can take your party and you can be like, come, hold hands, gather around, and we're all going to hold hands and run into the fire together. And then everyone's like, what? And you drag them into the fire and you teleport to the next fire that you can see within... See, how long is it? It's like a mile, 10 miles. So you can kind of like, you can kind of step into the elemental plane, and you can see 10 miles in any direction wherever there's a hearth or a fire, and you can just teleport between these hearths, which is really cool. Okay, so what stood out to
What a
you,
way to
Dee?
make an escape.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like,
really cool, actually.
literally
Um,
anybody, any evil villain or any politician or whomever anyone you need to escape from. If they have a
mhm,
fireplace or a bonfire, you can just right through and
right.
peace. Um, so Dee, what's your favorite? And then Garnet, I'm curious now that you, I'll go to you after now that you've had a chance to kind of look it over. But
Mhm.
Dee, what's your favorite as far as ones
So
that stand
I
out to you?
know before we were kind of talking about the Court the Flame, because of the AC bonus, and I thought that would be hilarious to put on a Forge Cleric.
Yeah.
Um, because it's also not concentration, so that was really why I was looking at it. I was like, okay, so it's not concentration. You put it on a Forge Cleric who already has access to Shield of Faith, which is concentration. I thought that was really cool. But what's hilariously won me over is the cantrip, Smolder. I thought, one, that's an amazing name for it because it's called Smolder.
Show me the smolder
But but it's completely not
with
the
actual fire.
sexy smolder that you were thinking of.
Yeah.
It's the intimidation checks, which I thought was really cool. So it's just imagining, this character, this charismatic character, essentially makes a like their own wreath of flames that is just like you're using it as an intimidation factor.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because, like I said, it's a cantrip, so you can keep doing this whenever. If you
Mhm.
just wanted to be a dick to somebody, you could just do this.
Just constantly smoldering. Yeah, and you can make like like a was it Zoolander? Or was it the with the blue steel? You could do like a red steel, and you can
Yeah,
have like
Oh,
the
yeah,
yeah, you can have your
Zoolander.
own
uh-huh,
version of the smolder. You can be like, do the smolder, and you just keep casting the cantrip. You know,
exactly.
you
So the
actually, yeah.
level, the opportunities for shenanigans for these is what really wins me over.
The flavor is
The
like,
flavor and the
it's so
shenanigans.
good. It's so good. That's one of the cool things about 5e supplements, like um another supplement, Griffin Saddlebag, but for
Mm,
deep magic, there's a lot of flavor. And it's like TTRPG should be fun. You know, it should be fun and kind of silly in its own way.
mhm.
And there should be these flavor options. I really like this. All right, Garnet, you have any that stand out to you?
Um, Currently, I think my favorite is going to be Fire Dance. Um,
Yes.
because it,
Makes
it
sense.
sounds like it could be so pretty. And then, of course, when you're done, they're charmed by you because,
Mm-hmm.
like, who isn't super impressed by somebody who can shoot fire from their hands and then make it pretty?
Right?
Exactly.
Hey, listen,
Eh,
if you want to take this on Amina, you absolutely can.
yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, yeah. um, and what's really cool is the first sentence. Oh my God, excuse me. The first sentence where you dance and twirl two sources of fire in rapid pattern. So like, I can totally see Amina or any other bardic character or any other character that has, or Kiri, um, that has a penchant for fire and art, right? Just kind of weaving very sort of fire bendy, sort of fire dancer. It's a
Mhm.
really cool idea. And then you have the all of the glass flavor, which ties into the
Mhm.
lore of the character that currently holds it. So,
Right.
spray of glass,
And then the molten shard.
mm-hmm. Ian's armor of glass, and then of course Ian being the current holder in the Kobold Press world, right? Because Kobold Press has their own homebrew world that all of this takes place in, which is really cool. And Ian's armor of glass is kind of like their nod to all of the WotC D&D characters that have spells on, that have spells named after them. A trope of
Right.
wizards naming spells in the lore that ends up in the actual book that you can have a physical copy of. I love that.
Wizards always naming spells after themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Yeah,
gotta.
that's pretty on brand.
My second favorite, because I'm a sucker for flavor, is the Brilliant Harrier. You conjure a glowing raptor of flame that appears within an unoccupied. So you're just right, and it's a bonus action.
Oh, it
And
is. I
yeah,
missed that part.
yeah, and it requires a piece of charcoal from a campfire. So imagine the characters all sitting around the campfire and having your pyromancer just kind of always collecting the charcoals, right, and not
Mhm.
using it. and saying like, "What are you doing with that?" And don't worry about it, just watch. And then all of a sudden they're in battle, or they're in a social situation, or trying to intimidate someone, and you get a piece of coal, just toss it, and just giant flaming raptor just appears, and it makes attack rolls and deals fire damage. So for a bonus action that just requires charcoal to just throw it out. It is a second level conjuration, but it's still cool because it's anywhere within 60
pretty
feet.
Good for second level.
Yeah.
Let me just take this piece of charcoal and throw it into the middle of a bunch of bad guys and make a dinosaur that out of fire that then creates more fire damage. There's got to be like an intimidation check with that too, because that's coming out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, I'm reading the chat and I'm seeing what Allie wrote. And it says, I know raptor means bird, but what about velociraptor? I was thinking velociraptor the whole time.
Dude, I thought they were talking about a dinosaur.
Yeah, me too. Well,
dinosaurs.
Yeah, dinosaurs are birds, technically, so same thing.
Yeah, technically, that's true.
Yeah, it works.
Yes.
Yeah, Rudolph, more dinosaurs good. Absolutely. Well, I guess you could do it either way. You could do it one of three ways, I guess.
Depending on the flavor of the character. If they wanted a flaming dinosaur, I'd give it to them.
Well, it does say it swoops down, so you could either have... So you could have the DM say it's a raptor like a hawk, or if your DM is really cool, it's a velociraptor with wings that can also fly.
That's terrifying.
All right. Second favorite spell here, D.
See, that's a good question. I kind of like the bombard.
Yeah.
Mostly because, I mean, again, it's another cleric spell. I am partial to all things cleric and druid. I like the idea of the cleric being able to have, especially like a forge cleric, because again, I will harp on this point no matter where I'm at. Forge cleric should have got fireball. I stand by that. So this, having the ability to have a fire spell that's not simply just heat metal or wall of flame, this would be something that I'd be like, okay, I can deal with not having fireball if I get bombard.
Yeah. Hey, I will advocate for all of these spells with you to Panda. We will present a united front, and we will be like, Panda, listen, we just did a podcast on this.
Well, see, Panda, if you're in chat, now you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, sometime this week, you're just going to get a question of, hey, what about these fire spells?
Right. And yeah, the chat is absolutely correct. Raptors are like that, but dinosaurs are way cooler. Kiri would absolutely say. Kiri had a T-Rex form, Kirisaurus Rex.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So to have two flaming dinosaurs at the same time would be awesome. Rudolph, side note, Kobold Press Tome of Beast 3 shows dinosaurs with feathers. Yes! So
that's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So again, if your DM's really cool, you'd have a little actual flying velociraptor. And yeah, bombard, anything that, let's see, what's the damage here?
I think it was like 40, 10.
40, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of like every other red card in Magic the Gathering. Garnet, second favorite spell?
Oh, I am torn between two.
Okay.
Now that I've had a chance to read them, I really like Flames United because then I can heal with fire. But then there's Emoliating Geist, which is a crazy spell.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, that's freaking scary. If you have a DM who's really good at describing things and you have an actual fire ghost, that's some
that is
scary business.
Actually.
A flaming spirit that appears in an unoccupied space. Medium. That's really cool. And then, okay, what do you like about Flames United?
It comes with the witch, in the witch class that's introduced in this too.
Ooh, okay.
So same with Hearthblock, I actually just noticed that. So that's neat.
That.
Witches get their own little spells from here.
Yes. Oh yeah, and there's a new class that you can play, Garnet the Witch, which I was like, okay.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Garnet, what did
Yeah,
you
like
like about? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well, Flames United is just like it's this pretty like floating orb that I can send like 30 feet and use it to heal people.
Yeah.
So it's super unassuming and it's just like, what is this little light? Don't worry about it. Somebody's getting health points.
Yeah. Everything here
It's
is perfect.
helping.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just let it happen. And they're like, this but burns. Let it happen. Ah! But then
Yes.
they're like, oh, it actually feels quite nice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like a warm hug. It's like a good spiced cider.
Yeah. Or you can have a Gandalf moment where you have a giant ball of fire and you're trying to heal someone with it. And they're like, what are you doing? And you're like, don't worry, it's quite cool.
It's quite cool, even though it's a fiery ball of death.
Yes.
Or at least it looks that way.
So, Dee, we'll bring it back to Dee, and that should bring us to time. So, Dee, wrap us up here with something strong. One more, and what's the last one you want to talk about here as far as the magic spells? If you had to pick one more.
The last one, well, okay, can I pick the really cool one that comes with the legendary item?
Totally.
It's the Flames Chronicle Unleashed. First of all, dope name.
Yes.
Really dope. But I want to talk about how, first of all, it's ritual. So that's really cool that you automatically can have it prepared, and if you have something like the ritual caster feat, you just get this. So I think it's really cool because it's got 3 different effects that come with it. It looks like so the wind, swelter, and desiccate. Which I mean, okay, that last part sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Evaporate all the bodies of water in an area, like
exactly. Just like no, you don't need the water.
and that's your villain arc.
Exactly.
Desiccate.
My villain arc is I get the book. Well, actually, you know what? That's funny. That would fit in with the first plot hook.
Yeah.
The one where you decide to keep the book or not. There you go. There's your villain arc. You get this spell.
I chose not to return the tome.
It's fine now. I want to desiccate all water within this region.
And then you could have a second campaign that picks up with a new party.
Exactly.
To track that,
It writes itself.
It all circles back.
So I think that's the part that I really like.
A sheet of scorched platinum with 500 gold pieces, which are destroyed in the process. That's really cool too.
So expensive.
Yeah.
So expensive, but I mean, it comes off of a fabled item. I think it's worth it.
I agree. It's really cool, but it is very expensive, especially for a material component. But the really cool spells have the most expensive material components, as we have learned. And that pretty much brings us to time, unless anyone has any other burning thoughts.
Thanks for letting me crash.
Yeah, totally.
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. I mean, once again, I think we just have to say that this is really flavorful. And bringing it back to the point of, this is, I feel like it would be a DM's best friend.
Agreed. And apparently a player's best friend too, because we're like, I want to use that.
Exactly.
That would be great for Everly. That would be good. That would be good for Amina. That would be good for Kiri, right? So
exactly.
Check out Kobold Press. I'd link the Kickstarter in the chat here. So check out the Kickstarter. There's also all kinds of cool goodies happening there, and special hardcovers, PDF copies, Roll20. Foundry access, enamel pins, and all this stuff is unlocked. Reference tables, new wizard subclasses, Bard and Bard Maestro NPCs, new dream magic style. Ooh, oh, they've unlocked like so many tiers. Wow, they've unlocked all of them. Okay. See if there's anything stretched on the bottom. No, and I saw some stuff about minis too.
Yeah.
Somewhere here. So that would be cool. Ooh, Project Black Flag Arcane Appendix added in. There's Project Black Flag. But you can support and pledge on Kickstarter.
well, I get paid tomorrow, which means I know where my money's going.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what we got for Deep Magic 2. So thank you, Garnet, for crashing and hanging out and offering your thoughts, and for Dee, as always.
Or
Garnet, while you're here, and then we'll go to Dee, what do you got going on in the meantime?
Oh, I am busy with movie stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot more happening than I thought there were, but it's okay because that means I'm busy.
Yep. Well, that's good. Busy is good. I know you're like
Yes.
hands full with school and movie stuff, movie production
Yes.
stuff, which is cool. I really liked your fantasy film there with the Elvish family.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually got to put up my new one. It's a mystery.
Ooh, okay. Yes, please do. And also, Dee, what you got going on in the meantime? Other than I know you got a lot of stuff. Your homebrew world and Incarnate.
yeah, a lot of it's just kind of like I said, getting that up and running, getting a world map to kind of start off with. And I will actually let you know when I'm a little bit closer to finished on that.
Okay. And again, if you have a spot.
Like I said, you're the first one I'm gonna ask.
Well, that's it for us, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us on a random Tuesday night for talking about Deep Magic Volume 2 and Pyromancy. And we will be back here on Monday, the 6th, with Stormwatch Hearts of Fire, Episode 2. Sort of a new chapter for Stormwatch. So this is Part 2, Episode 2, and a brand new chapter. Which takes place in our Heaven's Fire homebrew world, so check that out. And then in, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after, for Heaven's Fire. So thanks again, Dee and Garnet, and of course, the usual Be Queer, Do Crime. We love you all very much. We'll see you around the Discord server, I'll link here. And thank you to our friends over at Kobold Press, to Dot at Kobold Press, you're awesome. Thank you for the update on the Deep Magic 2 stuff, and for sending that to us right away. And y'all are awesome. We love the Kobold Press people very much as well. And so are all of our friends and community members, those who came out to chat with us on a Tuesday night. Y'all are super cool. So thanks, everybody. And thank you again, Dee and Garnet. And until the next podcast episode, we'll see y'all then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.